Welcome to Wednesday Night Satsang. We continue our Many Paths, One Door Sunday series with Reverend Michael's upcoming talk, The Children of Abraham, exploring the Jewish patriarch Abraham, a common ancestor of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Together we discover how unity's non-dualistic, non-exclusionary perspective can be of service to the conversation in this family of faith today. Chris Perez walks us through El Viaje del Corazón, the Journey of the Heart, this Sunday at 9:45, based on the teachings of Jack Kornfeld's book, A Path with Heart. Together we embark on a journey that transforms us by touching the center of our being through the alignment of our spiritual path in connection with the heart. Next Wednesday, we welcome back Kalyan Darshan and her mantra band for Kirtan, 7 p.m. in the Pyramid. Come experience the sacred sounds of celebration for opening our hearts, connecting us in love and spirit with mantra music, including vocals, harmonium, crystal singing bowls, guitar, and tablas. And registration is still open for our virtual Spiritual Education and Enrichment Week, July 25th through 31st. Reverend Ogun Holder and Reverend Kelly Isola and our Unity ministers and licensed Unity teachers offer 8 courses for dynamic spiritual growth and exploration, deepening our understanding of the Unity teachings and principles for transformational application. Reverend Ogun Holder will also facilitate a Fast Abundance workshop on July 31st, exploring the 4 states of being and creating a holistic understanding of abundance for mind, body, and spirit. An information session about SEE Week will be taking place this Sunday, July 11th, led by Reverend Jeanmarie, and early bird registration ends that evening. Details can be found on our website, unityhouston.org. Namaste.
Good evening and welcome to Wednesday Night Satsang. Just invite you now to prepare yourself for this evening and for this opportunity just to step out of your daily life, out of your routines, out of your rhythm of life and into a quiet place. Just invite you to breathe now, and however you are seated and wherever you are, just to relax and breathe in and out, even and full. And knowing that right here, right now, as you have always been, you are moving with this delightful energy of spirit. May not always feel delightful, but it is always moving. It is always lifting, always enhancing, strengthening, always leading, guiding, moving with you in all of the ways in which you are on a journey in your life and in the world. This journey is what is unfolding inside of each of us and being demonstrated and expressed in the world. And so we allow this spirit now to guide us, to show us the way, to strengthen us and bring the gifts and attract those that have messages for us, as well as partnership in our experience of life. Every good thing comes into our experience, and it blesses us and allows us to share what is good, what is great, and what is wonderful about our lives and about who we are and who we've come to be. And so in this moment now, let us give thanks. Let us feel our gratitude. Let us receive the gifts of this moment and open to what is to follow, what is to come. We know it is done in us, and so it is. Amen.
One of our unity principles is the law of giving and receiving. And as we give, so shall we receive. And that's the essence of this song. We send our love and it returns to us. Let's sing together. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power over the mountains. I send my power over the sea. I send my power into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the sea. I send peace into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. And it returns to me. And it returns to me. Let's feel the love as we move into our mantra chant. Ad Gure Name. This is a chant for divine protection. And the intention of this chant is to create a magnetic field of light energy around yourself, to be a peaceful, healing, joyful presence. Let's sing together. Ad Gure Name, Ad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Dev Name. Ad Gure Sri Guru Dev Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugat Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Dev Name. Ad Gure Name, To God, good name, Sat Guru Name, Sri Guru Dev Name. Ad Guru Name, to God, good name, Sat Guru Name, Sri Guru Dev We prepare our bodies now for our seated practice. Closing your outer eyes if you haven't done so already. Finding a seated posture that allows you to be alert and relaxed. You may imagine like someone is pulling the hairs at the crown of your head to help you find a straighter spine or more lengthened spine. To allow you to be seated and alert. Relaxing the muscles of your face. I invite you to take a deep breath, filling the abdomen, the ribs, the chest, and exhaling fully from the chest, the ribs, and the abdomen, pulling in the abdomen to release the last thread of the breath. Inhaling fully once again into the abdomen, the ribs, and the chest. And exhaling, allowing the exhale to be twice as long as the inhale. Fully releasing all the breath. And then allowing your breath to move into a natural rhythm. As you've released tension and just simply noticing the breath, using the breath as the anchor for your mindfulness practice, that whatever may call your attention, you return again and again to the breath. Focusing in on the breath allows your mind to quiet so that you can be more present to the stream of life that is changing and moving through you. So as you keep your attention on the breath, notice where you most easily feel sensations of breath. You may notice air flowing in and out of your nose. Perhaps you feel the rise and fall of your chest or your abdomen. Bring your attention to the sensations of breath in one of these areas. Choosing where you are feeling the breath most directly. And there's no need to change the way you're breathing or to control the breath in any way. There's no right way of breathing. It's bringing a relaxed awareness. Discover the changing sensations
of breath, breathing. Always happening. We don't always bring our attention to it. So now we bless ourselves with bringing our presence and mindfulness to the gift of breath. You may notice how easily, as you're focusing on the breath, that your mind may drift off into thinking. You don't need to try to eliminate thoughts. Your mind is simply doing what your mind knows to do. In this practice, you're developing your ability to notice when thoughts are happening without getting lost into the story of the thinking. When you notice thinking, you can note thinking in a soft and gentle way. And then without any judgment about what the thoughts had to say, just returning your attention to your present experience of the breath. Returning to your anchor. Feeling full presence. You may be noticing other experiences in the space where you are. The presence of others around you, air conditioning, sounds outside. Just allow any sounds to be in the background without drawing your attention away from the breath. If you notice any sensations in your body become particularly strong and are calling your attention, allow those sensations, instead of the breath, to become the primary subject of mindfulness. You may feel some aching or discomfort in a part of your body, cold air or warmth, vibrational energy, tingling. With a soft and open awareness, just allow those sensations to be as they are, to just feel them. Notice if they're pleasant or unpleasant. As you give your attention to those sensations, do they change? Do they become more intense or dissipate? Notice how they change. And when the sensations are no longer a strong experience, return your attention to your breath. Or if you find the sensations are so unpleasant that they become distracting, feel free to rest once again in the breath. In the same way, you can bring mindfulness to any emotions that may be arising. Grief, happiness, fear, excitement, sadness. Meet each experience with a clear and a kind presence. Simply noticing, what does this emotion feel like as sensations in your body? Where do you feel this emotion the most strongly? Is it still in one place? Is it moving? Does it feel like a big energy? Are your thoughts agitated, vivid, or repetitive and dull? Does your mind feel open or constricted? As you bring mindfulness to the emotion, notice how the emotion changes. Does it become more intense, or does it dissipate? Does it change to a different state? Anger to grief, happiness to peace. When the emotion is no longer compelling to you, return your attention to the breath. If the emotion feels overwhelming for you, know that you can always come home to rest in your breath. And we use our practice to welcome all of our internal experiences. They all belong. With an open, compassionate awareness, we bring our presence to our life, to our livingness, to the here and now. Knowing that here and now, God is. God is. God is. I open to the love and presence of God and the light that dwells within me. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen and amen.
Thank you, Reverend Jeanmarie, for that beautiful meditation and reflection on using our breath and allowing ourselves to be carried away. And as we return to this time and place and to the body seated and into our lives once again, we do it with open-heartedness, with a freshness and with renewal. And so it is easy then to give from that place a part of what we have received in whatever form that appears to be, however it is that we feel led. And so as we prepare our offering to share with our ministry, we do that by doing that electronically online through text to give, and in the sanctuary here in physical form as we choose to do. But however we give, let us bless it with a full and open heart, at allowing the vibration of love to fill our gift so that it goes far and wide in the world. And so as you bless this gift, do so by breathing into your heart and speaking our prayer of blessing. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive, and so it is. Amen.
Where I am, God is. Where I stand, God is standing strong. Where I breathe, God is breathing life in and out and through me. As me, where I sing, God is, and where I dance, joy lifts my feet. Where I live, beauty's flowing free, in and out and through me. As me, for where I doubt, God is the faith in me. Where I cry, God is the comfort there. And where I sleep, God is the answer. Here and now, forever and ever and ever. Where I speak truth is, where I work, love is my career. And where I play, God is playing boldly, in and out and through me. As me, where I am, and where I stand, where I play, and where I work and breathe and move and be, where I sing, and where I dance, my dance, my dance, wherever I go, where I pray and take and give and leave. God is, God is, oh God is, God is. Good evening, everyone. Affirm with me, I love and accept myself just as I am. Together, I love and accept myself just as I am. Again, I love and accept myself just as I am. Breathing that in. Noticing if anything got caught in your throat or anything showed up as you shared that and affirm that. Love and accept myself just as I am. I did something a little crazy this week. I don't know. A little daring, a little gutsy for me. I had to do an announcement video for this talk on the path of radical acceptance, right? And I we'd just gotten our piano tuned at home, and it sounded so beautiful, and the tuner was playing it, and he was just playing along. It's like, wow, I was just so impressed. And so I had to do this video, and I thought, well, I want to play the piano. I just want to play the piano, and I know I'm not like David or Gary Norrie and anywhere close to that, but thought I can play something accurately. I did take piano lessons. And I just wanted to do it because what I recognized is that where I struggle with acceptance of myself is when I step into that uncomfortable territory. I'm a little vulnerable, a little exposed, possibility of judgment, you know. And so that's where I see for all of us to just notice where when we're leaning into something that is creative or inspiring or something we want to do, are we giving it away to those who are perfect at it, who are experts, you know, who've trained? I come from a background of theater and music and dance, and so I've spent a lot of time around people who were really quite amazing and perhaps much, much better than me in some regards of you know, what you might consider as perfect, right? And so it's coming into my gift has value, my gift has worth, and I can bring my gift to the altar because God is, I am, right? And if I wait, imagine if you waited, if you just waited, oh, I have to wait until I'm worthy, I'm perfect, I'm exactly what God or people or whatever my brain tells me it needs to be, right? And then you never do it. I don't want to get to the end of my life and say, wow, I never even tried because I was too afraid. Can we dare to step into what's next and stumble a bit, not be perfect, take a little criticism. Okay, I'll do better next time. Thank you for sharing that with me. I'll keep working on it. I'm a work in progress. Say that with me. I'm a work in progress. Let ourselves be a work in progress. When I teach soul collage, I love teaching soul collage. Sometimes people come and they go, I'm not artistic, scissors, glue, I don't, just try. Just see. Surprise yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's perfect in the mind of God or wouldn't exist. God wanted to try it out imperfectly today through you, right? As you. So, what does it mean to love and accept myself just as I am today? Yes, even with those things I wish were different. What's keeping me from doing so? What's keeping you from doing so? We've been doing this series, we just started last week with Tara Brach's book, Radical Acceptance. Reverend Karen spoke about the trance of unworthiness, and so this chapter is about awakening from that trance and what the next step is. And she shares this story of this beautiful great white tiger named Mohini. You heard of this story? It's very rare to see a white tiger like this. They're like a genetic anomaly. And what a beautiful creature. And this tiger lived in the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. for many, many years in a typical tiger cage, a 12 by 12 foot cage. And what the tiger would do every day was pace from corner to corner all day and pace the cage, pace the cage. And finally, the zoo came to a realization that they'd like the tiger to be in a natural habitat, and they designed it. Acres of land for this tiger to explore with the right vegetation, with a pond and trees, just everything you would ever dream for a tiger. And so they removed the cage. They were very excited, big celebration that this tiger would get to experience freedom. And unfortunately, it was too late for Mohini. The tiger found a corner of the area and traced a 12 by 12 foot rectangle or square, I guess it would be, every day for the rest of its life and never ventured out into freedom. we know freedom is possible beyond the cage that we've created for ourselves of limitations. Well, I do this, but I don't do that. Or I won't be with those people or go to that place or talk to that person or whatever it is, whatever the cage is that we create for ourselves. We can spend years trapped in the same cycle over again and again and again. We can get used to our self-judgment, our anxiety, our dissatisfaction, our restlessness. A restlessness feels like something should be different, but this is safe here. And we know Spirit wants us to be free. We know that at the very cells of our being know this as the truth of who we are, to be authentic. And yet, how often do we listen to the inner critics, those voices that keep us small, keep us limited? And even if we get the dream career, the dream home, the dream relationship, if our thinking is still in the cage, we won't enjoy it fully the way that we intended to manifest it, because our consciousness is not shifted yet. The truth is, wherever you are, God is. Where I am, God is. Say that with me. Where I am, God is. As you begin to see yourself from essence, with spiritual eyes, you recognize the beauty and rarity of you, just like the white tiger, the beauty and rarity, the uniqueness of what only you could bring to this situation, your necessity. In all of God, you are essential or you wouldn't be here. So the way out of the cage of our thinking is accepting, absolutely accepting everything about ourselves and our lives. What do you think? You think we can do that? Accepting everything. Why? Well, we recognize spiritual law tells us we co-created it, right? We were part of manifesting it. So it's to some degree we chose, mostly, many of us, and probably completely, where we live and what kind of work we do, that kind of thing. Maybe not how everything's unfolded, but just recognizing our choosing involved in that, in the acceptance process. And recognizing that acceptance is not just a mental exercise. Okay, accept my life, It's really coming to accept it from a place of full compassion for ourselves and our experience. And even compassion for things not being exactly what you had hoped or dreamed them to be. Compassion that's of all you've been through. So by bringing mindfulness and care to our moment-to-moment experience. So that's where that radical acceptance comes into its greatest power, is when we're right present, just like in the meditation. I led you in a practice, a Buddhist practice called Vipassana, mindfulness practice, being aware of your present moment experience. And it's that we bring our radical acceptance to, what's right here and right now. So radical, the word radical, is not like meant to be rebellious. It comes from the root, from going to the root or the origin is what the word means. Radical, returning to the root, the origin. The root, the origin of you, the unconditioned self, your authentic, true nature. And Tara Brach gives us two parts to that journey. She says that they are the two wings of unfolding acceptance. One wing is seeing clearly, is mindfulness with a kind and open heart, and the other wing is holding our experience with compassion, allowing us to be the great bird that flies free. So seeing clearly with mindfulness what is present, and holding that with compassion, with the heart, letting go, or even just acknowledging and welcoming the judging mind. Okay, thank you. And holding even that with compassion and love, forgiveness, acceptance, leaning into our experience, because how often do we walk around? I thought it was interesting on Sunday, Reverend Michael said that the way, he told a joke and said one of the ways you know you're an adult is if you're a little annoyed all the time. Am I a little annoyed all the time? I gotta check in with myself on that. And just leaning in, rather than resisting. That annoyance is that oh, it shouldn't be that way, so it's kind of annoying me. Leaning into life rather than resisting or rejecting our experience. And when we do that, when we come into this radical acceptance, our stories show up in a way that we can gently hold the story, the pain, or the desire, the unfulfilled desire, whatever that happens to be, to hold that in love. Tara shares that many people find radical acceptance through a path of hitting bottom. And 12-step recovery teaches about hitting bottom, and that's when an alcoholic's life spins out of control. And she shares a story of her mom, who was chosen by her college to be honored for lifetime achievement. And she was interviewed by one of the current college students who complimented her on her work for a large nonprofit that was helping people who were struggling with alcoholism. And she shared with Tara when she was asked how she got into this fascinating field, and the student was just so enamored with her. Tara's mother responded to the student, "Barbara dear, I drank my way in." And Tara recalled growing up and seeing her mom numbing her emotional pain with alcohol again and again and again. And her mom had lost meaning in her life, and the only meaning that she was deriving from life was with her family, her love for her family. She realized that it came to a point when Tara was around 16 that her mom came to the realization that those close to her were in their own distress over her drinking, and she found recovery. And so she had to face that suffering directly. That's the first step of the 12 steps. To admit there's a problem, to admit being powerless over the addiction, and recognizing higher power that is the source to bring you through and to allow for the change. So she accepted and became open to her insecurity, her shame around what she had created, that situation in her family and in her life. Tara's mom awakened from the trance, this trance we're talking about of unworthiness, but she had to stop running away from it and numbing herself and be with that pain, be with the pain of not feeling fulfilled. And it was there that she recognized she had a choice, hitting the bottom to come up from that, to heal and recover and give back eventually. The poet Rumi saw the relationships between our wounds and our awakening. And he said this, "Don't turn away. Keep your gaze on the bandaged place. That's where the light enters you." That's where the light enters you, in those cracks, in those wounded places. I was listening to a podcast by one of my colleagues and friends, Reverend Paulette Pipe, and she was talking about not being perfect, and she shared about the Japanese art of kintsugi. And this is the art of mending broken pottery by putting gold in the cracks to emphasize the cracks and accepting that as part of the history of the pottery. So it makes it even more beautiful with the gold in the cracks of the pottery. Isn't that just a wonderful thought? That in what we see in the cracks or wounds or broken places of ourselves is where the light shines through, where the gold is. Certainly the gold of our growth, the growing edge of our spiritual growth that we can use to transform and to shift our consciousness. So are you using your suffering for the gift that it could be? Or are you just going on and on with it? Using it for a gift, for growth, for yourself. So when we use that suffering to open up we can recognize that the prison that we've made is self-made. And living in it stops us from living fully, from having the wings of the great bird and being free. There are 5 things you need to know about radical acceptance, because these are the questions that Tara Brach got about radical acceptance, and so I'll just briefly go through them so you can have maybe some more clarity about the process for yourself. Radical acceptance is not resignation. It's not like falling into victim consciousness. Oh, my life is this way. Accepting myself, meaning accepting that I'm not good enough, so it's not that. We can get confused into thinking if I accept myself, then I'll lose my desire to change. And actually, what psychologist Carl Rogers said was the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. That's the point where we can consciously make a change, when we fully accepted the reality, the experience, who and what we are and have been. Radical acceptance does not mean defining ourselves by our limitations, and it's not an excuse for withdrawal. So we can tell ourselves we don't have the credentials, so we won't apply for a job. I found very interesting something that I read, that men typically will apply for a job if they meet one of the criteria for the job, and women usually will not apply unless they meet at least 9 out of 10 of the criteria for the job. So recognizing if you meet more than one, are you counting yourself out because you're not 100% what you think they want? Well, maybe that person didn't apply, and you're that person, and you'll grow into those other things, or you'll get some training. Not an excuse for withdrawal. Because of past relationships, we decide to stay single. Relationships don't work out for me, not going to meet anyone. Or we use physical limitations to limit ourselves. And she tells about Christopher Reeve. Remember his recovery story? He was in the riding accident, he got paralyzed. And he came to a choice point of whether he wanted to live or not. And he chose to live and to throw himself into his physical therapy and his recovery. And what came out of it was a level of recovery that had not yet been known possible for someone in his condition. Considered formerly impossible. Through his desire, his will, his love for himself and for his family, he threw himself fully into it. Go for it. He went for it. Radical acceptance is not self-indulgence. It's not like I accept that I love ice cream, so hence I will eat it all the time. Lust, craving, whatever it is, recognizing that we can meet our unhealthy habits, our addictions with mindfulness that helps us to see that we can make other choices and be reasonable in the way that we conduct ourselves, right? So the fourth one is radical acceptance does not make us passive, thinking like, well, if I accept environmental change or the politics, whatever it happens to be, then I won't feel compelled to take any action. And it's actually quite the opposite. If we accept the harm, the abuse, the violence, it doesn't mean that we can't be an agent for change. If you look at Nelson Mandela or Gandhi or Aung San Suu Kyi in Burma, that these were all social activists who were able to accept what was present and take positive action rather than reacting against. I love this quote from Mother Teresa: "I will never attend an anti-war rally. If you have a peace rally, invite me." Invite me to the peace rally. So she knew what she was for. So radical acceptance is knowing what you're for rather than reacting against, being reactionary to life, coming into that acceptance, knowing what you're for, and then taking that action in a positive direction. Radical acceptance does not mean accepting a self, like a personality or an ego, like that's me. That is not accepting a story of a good self or a bad self. We're accepting what the immediate mental and sensory experiences that we interpret as self in the moment. We're accepting that as it arises. So my question for you as I close my sharing tonight is, what would it be like to accept your life, to accept this very moment just as it is? Be with that question. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Jeanmarie. Gosh, really appreciated, the distinctions that you made about, thinking that we have to get it perfectly right before we can do it or show it off or be it, or that it's not really prime time. I'm wondering, even as I'm saying that, I'm wondering how much television and media influences that, because everything is so perfect out there, right? Recorded music, which we also know has been tinkered with. It's not somebody just stepping up to a microphone and singing. There's a lot of editing and a lot of conditioning of the sounds just to make it come out a certain way, and that we take that for granted, that's the right way to sing, that's the good thing, right? And so there's so many other examples of perfection, or even maybe an artificial thing about it that makes us feel that our gift is not worthy, it's not equal, it's not enough. I shouldn't display it or show it to anybody else, right? So I'm just conscious of, that is my own thinking too, that there's, the acceptance of oneself, and what it was Carl Rogers, that's it, right. Carl Rogers, who said, once we accept ourselves, we can then change. And the magic of that is really that in accepting myself, I have in some way fully digested who I am, like I've taken it in and let it integrate, so I now have substance to work from, to move forward. And if I don't accept, I'm still pushing an ingredient away from who I'm becoming and what is next. And I think that's a real metaphysical way of thinking about it, right? That we are constantly being called up and out more, and destiny calls us, and if we can't be good enough and okay enough, we can't appropriate what is needed to move into the next place of imperfection. It's not like, well, then now I'm perfect. Yeah. Well, like now I got there, but no, probably not,
That was my biggest takeaway from all the many wonderful things you said, was that I'm a work in progress. Even my capacity to accept, because it's not like a checkbox, like, oh, got that handled, thank God. It's like, okay, I accept what I accept and what I understand. And I think then what came up for me, especially when you were talking about the white tiger, is that sometimes we don't even know where we are not accepting ourselves, or we're not accepting a situation or accepting a circumstance. And so that's where community comes in so helpful, and all the different layers of fellowship. Sometimes there are really loving, trusting people who can kind of like help you in a gentle way, like, might want to just look at this. Sometimes we plop ourselves in the middle of a 12-step group where we can hear it in other people and kind of reflect and, oh, there I am too. And sometimes life comes and pounds you over the head with a 2x4, and it's like, okay, except that, I get it, and all those lessons are valid. But one other thing I wanted to say about the tiger who found comfort, I'm going to call it comfort, who knows, really, right? But who found familiarity, at least, in their own 12 by 12 pattern in the corner of this massive acreage, I think sometimes we hear inspiring messages like this and we leave and we think, okay, I decide that I'm going to do this differently in my life. I've been living inside this 12 by 12 consciousness about this particular thing, and I'm going to liberate myself of it. And I put all my mindfulness and all my will behind it. And you know what? It's rarely effective in that regard. One thing that we have, though, as human beings, is that we can affect our structure. I might not be able to manage my thoughts moment to moment to moment to moment, but I can change this one thing. I can put an obstacle in the corner of this 12 by 12 square so that when I bump against it next time, I have to walk around it. And I'm going to do that every day, and my pattern's going to change, and I'm going to move that obstacle and make it bigger. And I have found that to be enormously helpful when I'm overwhelmed by my own frailties, my own flaws. Like, okay, this is a big one that I want to take on. And I'm not going to think myself through this. And my practicing acceptance is just too fragile. I can't. It's a big, the entrenchment is too great. But I can just change some physical things about my life, some structural things, and then eventually I grow into a new shape, a new way of thinking.
Yes. Oh, I like that, grow into a new shape. We don't always know how things are going to show up in our consciousness. I had made a decision last Monday when I went to my optometrist to get LASIK corrective eye surgery, and I did not know it was like this huge energy of anxiety showed up. You're going to have a laser in your eye. And there's the rational part of me that's, these procedures have been done many times. These are experts. The equipment is great. I'm in Houston, the best place for a medical procedure in the world. All these things, and inside I'm like, there's going to be a laser in my eye. So just that's where that extra and support, prayer. I reach out for prayer. Prayer from the ministers, prayer from the staff, silent unity, as much prayer support, because I do believe that it's freeing when we can allow others to hold the space for us, or I should speak for myself, for me, it's freeing for me when I know others are holding the space for me when I can't fully do it for myself in the moment.
Yeah, actually, I'm so glad you said that. I was going to ask you about, how this applies in your life or what you do, but I just want to thank you for doing the video, playing the piano, honestly, because and giving the insight to us of what went into you to decide to do that, that again, that measurement of, putting something out there that we know isn't perfect and isn't 100%, but it is your gift, and it's the fruit of a lot of work, and it was, and it was a song, and you played, so it was, it's just really coming to a place of acceptance of, the gift is the thing, right? I mean, I think it's the willingness to share and the willingness to give a gift and letting that be the perfection, right? Letting that intention of just sharing. This is, the little drummer boy who plays for the baby Jesus, that story melts every heart, right? And why? Because the simplicity of it and the fullness of it and the intentionality of it. And I think maybe, that liberates me to think about it that way, that my gift such as it is, at whatever stage it's at, is good. And I can do that, and it doesn't have to be top of the line, you know, and maybe it never will be by comparison, but it's mine. It's my thing, right? I'm feeling it. I'm feeling, you know, I'm feeling into it. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, radical acceptance is if one decides that they're going to live their lives, live their life out of an awareness of acceptance of what is and what is not at every moment, then the moment we're made aware that we're not doing that, then instantly you must let go of it, because otherwise you're giving yourself permission to, you're indulging in sort of hanging on to something that is inherently limiting. And you know, it starts with a decision like, okay, I'm going to accept life on life's terms. And then if I want to stay in that movement, you referenced that earlier, Karen, that it's a moving target in a way. Didn't use that word, but nonetheless, the idea that I got was that it's a moving process, that you have some momentum then if you can just sort of stay in the question about releasing and accepting, having once made the decision that that's the way you're going to live life.
This idea has come into focus a lot for me too with raising my daughter, because she's learning everything new, right? She's taking piano lessons, and I'm expecting her to try to do things she's never done, to get uncomfortable, use her fingers in a different way, and what have you. And I think, well, I want to be an example of that. And am I, not just in piano, but just in life, that she can see her mommy is living what she's telling her to do, right? Walking the talk. So it does put more of a magnifying lens on my own choices and my own self-acceptance. And of course, loving myself through it. I know I'm not trying to be a perfect mom, but just recognizing that I do have a responsibility as a mother to also walk the talk that I'm giving her over and over again.
Well, that's a wonderful example, and it's also a wonderful path. And just wait until she gets to be a teenager, and she'll be sure to point out the imperfections and just where exactly you fall short. So,
I am sure.
That's still ahead, but
Yes, I will ask for prayers. Pray in advance.
and we will give them to you too. We'll say them for you. So this is the time where we do say our prayers, and this is the place where we do so because we are in union, we are in community. And so whether you're seated here in the pyramid with us, or whether you're watching now, or whether you're watching at some point beyond now into the future where we are, that you're seeing this experience, you're already in consciousness here, because there is no distance in spirit. There is no time or space in love. And so in the space among us and between us, we already invoke that love, that transforming, healing love into the space of our connectedness. And we now bring to mind conditions or names of people in our lives that we wish to see changed, healed, brought to a higher vibration, a more complete, a more loving, more healed place in their lives. And so whatever it is and whomever it is, just invite you to now take a deep breath in and feel the connection among us, knowing that love is here. Life is here. God is here. And into this space, we speak the name or the condition we wish to release. so as we breathe, as we release, as we let go, a peacefulness falls over us, an assurance, a trust that all is well. It always was, it always is, and even as it becomes and changes, it continues to evolve, and yet in every moment it is sufficient, and so are we. And we accept our goodness, we accept this love, and we are grateful, and so it is. Amen. As we leave here this evening, you may wish to have a prayer in person. So it's one of the gifts that we have here when we're in person, the opportunity to pray. And so there'll be a prayer partner over there waiting for you this evening.
We'll join together now in our metta practice prayer, recognizing that we live and conduct our own personal practice in service to all. Join with me. By the power of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they know the sacred joy that arises in the space beyond suffering. May they rest in equanimity that knows no grasping or hatred. May they experience the equality of all beings. May my practice be of benefit to all.
Namaste, namaste, I bow to you. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Go shine your light into the world. Namaste, namaste, the light in me sees the light in you. Namaste, namaste, go shine your light